Kale, the galaxy's most feared assassin, was known for his cold demeanor and deadly precision. Fear followed him wherever he went, and he had built a reputation that made even the toughest criminals tremble. But as he stood alone in the dimly lit corner of a crowded spaceport on the planet Vesperus, he felt a deep sadness that was as heavy as any weapon he carried. Months had passed since he lost touch with Lyra, the mechanic who had brought something out of him he didn't know existed. She had moved away to a distant planet, following her dreams of a better life and more opportunities. Kale had always admired her ambition, but her departure left a void in his heart. He missed her laughter, her warmth, and the way she made him feel like more than just a killer dot. As he watched the ships come and go, Kale's thoughts drifted to the last time they were together. They had spent hours talking under the stars, sharing their hopes and fears. He remembered how her eyes sparkled when she spoke about her dreams of building a better future. Kale had never felt so close to anyone before, and now that she was gone, he felt more alone than ever. The memories flooded back, and Kale clenched his fists. He wanted to reach out to her, to tell her how much she meant to him, but he didn't know how. What would he say? How could he explain the feelings he had never allowed himself to explore? The thought of appearing vulnerable terrified him. He was an assassin, not someone who shared his feelings. But as the days passed, the emptiness grew. On some level, Kale understood that he had to try. He couldn't let fear stop him from reconnecting with someone who had changed Asterisk in a galaxy filled with chaos and danger. Kale was the most feared assassin. His name sent chills through the hearts of criminals and nobles alike. He moved in the shadows, always focused on his next target. Yet deep inside, Kale felt a strange emptiness. He had built walls around his heart, convinced that feelings were a weakness. But everything changed when he met Lyra. Lyra was not like anyone he had ever known. She was a mechanic on the bustling planet of Vesperus, a world known for its vibrant markets and colorful people. When Kale first saw her, she was laughing, her hands covered in grease as she fixed a broken hovercar. Her smile was bright, and for a moment, the darkness surrounding Kale seemed to lift. He watched her from a distance, surprised to feel a warmth spreading through him. However, Kale's mission loomed over him. He had been sent to eliminate a target who was hiding on Vesperus. As he followed his instinct to slip into the shadows, he couldn't shake the feeling that he wanted to know Lyra better. He approached her, his heart racing. "You're really good at this," he said, trying to sound casual. Lyra looked up, her eyes shining with curiosity. "Thanks. Most people think fixing engines is boring, but I love it." Their conversation flowed easily, and Kale found himself smiling, a rare occurrence for him. As they talked, Kale felt something he hadn't felt in years, a connection. They shared stories about their lives, their dreams, and their fears. Kale learned that Lyra wanted to travel the galaxy, to see places beyond Vesperus. When she laughed, it was like music to his ears. For the first time, he felt alive. Moment was short-lived. Kale's mission was still waiting for him. He tried to push thoughts of Lyra aside, but the more he got to know her, the harder it became. He watched her work, her hands moving skillfully as she repaired machines, and he admired her determination. In that moment, he felt a sense of hope, a feeling he thought he had lost forever. Then, chaos erupted. Mercenaries stormed the marketplace, searching for Lyra. They wanted the technology she had stolen, and Kale knew he had to protect her. Without thinking, he sprang into action, using his skills as an assassin to fight off the attackers. Lyra watched in awe as he moved with precision and grace. After the battle, they found themselves alone in her workshop. Lyra was shaken but grateful. "Thank you for saving me," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't know someone like you could be so brave." Cale felt a blush creeping up his cheeks, something he hadn't experienced in years. "I just did what needed to be done," he replied, trying to sound tough. But deep down, he knew. He wanted to be more than just an assassin. He wanted to be someone Lyra could count on as they talked late into the night. Cale realized that Lyra had opened a door in his heart. He felt closer to her than anyone else, and that scared him. He had spent so long building walls to protect himself, but now he wanted to let her in. As the stars shone brightly outside, Cale made a promise to himself. He would find a way to protect Lyra, to keep her safe from the dangers of his world. But he also knew that this connection could change everything. He was no longer just a feared assassin. He was someone who cared deeply for another person. When he finally left her workshop, Cale felt a mix of hope and fear. He had found something worth fighting for, but he also knew that love could be dangerous. He didn't want to lose Lyra, but he didn't know how to balance his life as an assassin with his growing feelings for her. As he walked through the quiet streets of Vesperus, Cale felt a new resolve building inside him. He would protect Lyra and fight for their connection, no matter the cost. And with that thought, he smiled to himself, feeling a warmth in his heart that he hadn't felt in a long time. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would test his strength and challenge everything he believed about love and redemption. Days turned into weeks, and Cale found himself drawn to Lyra more than ever. He would watch her work from a distance, secretly hoping for another chance to speak with her. But the shadows of his past loomed large. Each time he thought about approaching her, doubt crept in. What if she found out about his life as an assassin? Would she still see him as brave or just a monster? One evening, as Cale sat in a dimly lit corner of a local cantina, he overheard a group of men talking about a powerful crime lord who had put a bounty on Lyra's head. Panic surged through him. He knew he had to act quickly. He couldn't let anything happen to her. The next day he arrived at Lyra's workshop, determination etched on his face. "Lyra, we need to talk," he said, his voice steady but urgent. Looked up from her work, surprise in her eyes. "Cale, what's wrong? There's a danger coming. A crime lord wants you dead because of something you fixed. I can protect you, but you need to trust me," he explained. Lyra's expression shifted from surprise to concern. "But why would someone want to hurt me? I'm just a mechanic." "It doesn't matter why. What matters is that I won't let anyone hurt you," he replied, his voice firm. Lyra studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I trust you. But what do we do?" Cale took a deep breath. "First, we need to hide. I know a safe place where we can lay low until I figure things out." They left the workshop together, and as they walked through the streets, Cale couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency. He wanted to protect Lyra, but the weight of his past hung heavy on his shoulders. They reached a secluded cabin outside. The city nestled among the trees. It felt like a sanctuary, a place to escape the chaos of the galaxy. Inside, they settled in, and Cale began to plan their next steps. "We can't stay here for long. I need to confront the crime lord and end this threat," he said. Lyra looked worried. "Are you sure that's safe? I don't want you to get hurt." Cale smiled softly, feeling a warmth spread through him. "I've faced worse, but I promise I'll do everything I can to keep you safe." As the days passed, they grew closer. They shared stories, laughter, and moments of vulnerability. Cale found himself opening up about his past, his childhood, the choices he made, and the loneliness that followed him. Lyra listened, her eyes filled with empathy. "I never wanted this life," he confessed. "But meeting you has changed everything for me." Lyra smiled gently. "You're more than just an assassin, Cale. You have a heart. I see it in the way you care for others." Her words struck a chord deep within him. For the first time, Kale felt seen, not just as a feared assassin, but as a man capable of love and redemption. He wanted to be someone Lyra could rely on, someone who would fight for her. One evening, as they sat outside under a blanket of stars, Kale turned to Lyra. "You know, I never thought I could feel this way about anyone. You've brought light into my life." Lyra blushed, a smile spreading across her face. "You're not so bad yourself, Kale. You've shown me that there's more to this galaxy than just survival." In that moment, Kale felt a bond stronger than any he had ever known. But just as hope blossomed between them, darkness loomed on the horizon. A group of mercenaries, sent by the crime lord, tracked them down to the cabin. Kale's instincts kicked. "In. We have to go. Now," he urged, grabbing Lyra's hand. They raced through the forest, hearts pounding with fear and adrenaline as they ran. Kale's mind raced. He couldn't let anything happen to Lyra. He would protect her, no matter the cost. They reached a clearing, and Kale turned to face the mercenaries who had cornered them. "Stay behind me," he said, his voice steady. He knew he had to confront them, to protect the person he cared about most. The mercenaries approached, weapons drawn. "Hand over the mechanic, assassin, and we might let you live," one of them sneered. Kale's heart raced, but he stood firm. "I'll never let you have her." With a swift motion, he launched into action, using every skill he had honed over the years. The fight was fierce, but Kale fought with a determination. After the confrontation with the mercenaries, Kale and Lyra found themselves in a new and uncertain reality. They had escaped danger, but the scars of their past experiences lingered. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, and Kale felt the weight of his former life as an assassin pressing heavy on his heart. He wanted nothing more than to protect Lyra and build a future together. But doubt simmered beneath the surface. In the days that followed, they stayed at the secluded cabin, trying to find a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. Lyra worked on her projects, fixing small machines and tinkering with various gadgets, while Kale helped her whenever he could. He enjoyed watching her work, her hands moving with confidence and skill. Yet even as they laughed and shared stories, Kale felt a growing distance between them. Lyra was cheerful and full of hope, but Kale struggled with his past. He had spent years in the shadows, living a life of violence and fear. How could he expect Lyra to accept him as he was? Each time he looked at her, he felt the urge to confess everything, the darkness that haunted him, the lives he had taken, the pain he had caused. But he held back, afraid that revealing the truth would push her away. One evening, as they sat by the fire outside the cabin, Lyra turned to Kale, her expression serious. "What are you thinking about?" she asked gently. Kale hesitated, staring into the flames. "Just everything. I want to keep you safe, but I don't know if I can." Lyra reached out, placing her hand on his. "You've already done so much for me. You protected me from those mercenaries. I believe in you, Kale." Her words sparked something inside him. He felt a flicker of hope, but the shadows of doubt still loomed large. "I'm not the man you think I am," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I have a dark past, Lyra. I've hurt people." Lyra's eyes softened. "We all have a past. What matters is who we choose to be now. You've shown me you care. That means more than anything." Kale looked into her eyes and saw sincerity. But still, he couldn't shake the feeling of distance growing between them. He had opened up a little, but he needed to share more. He needed to let her see the real him, the flawed, scared man beneath the assassin's mask. "I want to show you who I really am," he said finally. "But I'm afraid of what you'll think." Lyra smiled gently. "You don't have to be afraid with me. I want to know you, all of you." Encouraged by her words, Kale took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll tell you everything. He began to share his story, the loss of his family, how he was taken in by a group of assassins, and how he had become what he was. As he spoke, Lyra listened intently, her expression never changing from one of compassion. When he finished, silence hung in the air. Cale felt vulnerable, exposed. He feared the worst, that Lyra would see him as a monster. But instead, she reached for his hand again, holding it tightly. "I'm sorry for what you went through. Cale, that doesn't define who you are today. You're not a monster. You're a protector," she said. "You saved me, and that's what matters." Tears welled in Cale's eyes. Her acceptance filled him with relief. He leaned closer, their faces inches apart. "I want to be better. For you and for me." Lyra smiled brightly. "Then let's be better together. We can face anything as long as we have each other." With renewed determination, Cale began to plan their next steps. They would leave the cabin and travel to a nearby city where they could gather supplies and find a way to put an end to the crime lord's threat once and for all. He wanted to create a new life for Lyra, one where she could pursue her dreams without fear. The next morning, they set out early, their hearts filled with hope. As they walked, Cale felt lighter than he had in a long time. The sun shone brightly overhead, and the forest around them seemed alive with possibility. He glanced at Lyra, who walked beside him with a smile on her face, and felt a surge of affection. When they arrived in the city, the hustle and bustle overwhelmed Cale. He had spent so long in the shadows that the noise and activity felt foreign. But Lyra was in her element, excitedly pointing out shops and stalls filled with colorful goods. She led him to a small cafe, where they sat down to plan their next move. "I think we should gather some allies," Lyra suggested, stirring her drink. "If we can find people who want to stand against the crime lord, we might have a chance." Cale nodded, impressed by her bravery. "You're right. Together, we're stronger." They spent the day gathering information and speaking to anyone who would listen. Cale felt a sense of purpose growing within him. He was no longer just an assassin. He was part of something bigger. With Lyra by his side, he felt hope blossoming in his heart. As night fell, they found themselves on a rooftop overlooking the city. The stars sparkled above them, and Cale felt a sense of peace wash over him. Lyra leaned against the railing, her eyes shining as she looked out at the view. "Can you believe we're really doing this?" she asked, her voice filled with excitement. Cale smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "I never thought I would find someone like you. You've changed everything for me." Lyra turned to face him, her gaze steady. "And you've changed everything for me, too. I believe in us, Cale. We can create a better future." In that moment, Cale felt a warmth spreading through him. He realized that he had found not just a partner, but a true companion. They were in this together, and together they could face anything. As they stood on that rooftop, Cale leaned closer to Lyra, feeling the connection between them deepen. "You really are beautiful, Lyra," he said softly, a blush creeping up his cheeks. Smiled, her eyes sparkling with joy. "And you're brave, Cale. Together we can overcome anything." With that, they shared a hopeful kiss under the stars, sealing their bond and their commitment to each other. Cale knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but with Lyra by his side, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He had hope, love, and a future worth fighting for, a light in the darkness that had once consumed him. Together, they would carve a new destiny, one built on trust, courage, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. As the days turned into weeks, Cale and Lyra worked tirelessly to gather allies against the crime lord who threatened their lives. They met with old friends, fellow mechanics, and brave souls willing to stand up for what was right. Each conversation filled Cale with hope and renewed purpose. With Lyra by his side, he felt more alive than ever. However, even with their growing bond and shared mission, Cale couldn't shake the feeling of distance creeping back into their relationship. They had become a team, fighting for a common goal. But he worried that he hadn't fully opened up to Lyra. He wanted her to see all of him, the good and the bad, but fear still held him back. What if he scared her away? One evening, after a long day of strategizing, they returned to their makeshift headquarters, a small room rented above a bustling tavern. Lyra was tired but excited. "I think we're making real progress, Cale. We've got a solid group now," she said, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. Cale nodded, but his heart felt heavy. "Yeah, but we still have a lot to do. And I'm worried about the dangers ahead." Lyra stepped closer, concern etched on her face. "You don't have to carry this alone. We're in this together, remember?" He wanted to believe her, but the shadows of his past loomed large. "I know, but I can't help thinking that if I'm not careful, I'll put you in danger. I've done terrible things, Lyra. I'm not sure I can be the man you need." Lyra reached out and touched his arm gently. "Cale, everyone has a past. What matters is who you choose to be now. You've chosen to fight for something good. That shows strength." Her words warmed his heart, but doubt lingered. "I just don't want to let you down." "You could never let me down," she replied firmly. "You've already saved me once, and I believe in you." Cale smiled, grateful for her unwavering support, but as the night wore on, he felt the distance between them growing again. He wanted to share his fears, to let her see the real him, but vulnerability was difficult. He needed to find a way to connect with Lyra on a deeper level. The following day, they gathered with their allies in a small, dimly lit room. Cale felt a sense of camaraderie as they shared plans and strategies. Lyra stood by his side, her confidence shining. She was a natural leader, inspiring others with her passion and determination. As they discussed their next steps, Cale noticed a newcomer in the group, a young woman named Myra, who had experience fighting against crime lords. Myra spoke with a fierce spirit, sharing stories of her past battles. Cale admired her bravery and felt a spark of hope. Perhaps they could really make a difference together. After the meeting, Lyra pulled Cale aside. "What do you think of Myra?" "She seems like she could be a great asset." "Yeah, she's impressive," Cale replied, trying to hide his unease. "But I'm worried about bringing more people into this. What if they get hurt?" Lyra frowned, sensing his hesitation. "Cale, we need to trust our allies. They're here to fight with us, not just for us. We can't do this alone." "I know," he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's just hard for me to trust others. I've seen too much betrayal." Lyra stepped closer, her expression softening. "I understand, but you need to let go of that fear. Trust me. Trust our team. We're all in this together." Cale looked into her eyes, searching for the strength he knew she possessed. "You're right. I need to try." As they prepared for the upcoming confrontation with the crime lord, Cale fell. After the victory against the crime lord, Cale and Lyra found themselves in a new chapter of their lives. They had fought bravely, and together they had forged bonds with their allies. The shadows of Cale's past seemed to dim as he focused on building a better future with Lyra. However, even in the glow of their triumph, Cale felt a familiar distance creeping back into his heart. As they settled into their new lives, Cale noticed that Lyra was often lost in thought. She would stare out at the stars for long moments, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the night sky. Cale wanted to understand what was on her mind, but every time he tried to ask, he hesitated. He didn't want to push her away or make her feel uncomfortable. One evening, as they were preparing dinner in their small apartment above the tavern, Cale finally gathered the courage to speak up. "Lyra, Is everything okay? You seem a bit distant lately. Lyra paused, turning to face him. I'm fine, Kale. Just thinking about everything that's happened. Kale felt a knot in his stomach. I understand. But I want you to know that you can share anything with me. I'm here for you. She smiled softly, but Kale could see a flicker of sadness in her eyes. I appreciate that, really. It's just, I've been thinking about my family. When I left home to come here, I didn't think I would feel this way. Kale's heart sank. He knew how important family was. Do you miss them? He asked gently. Yes, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I miss them a lot. I moved away to find a better life, but sometimes I feel guilty for leaving them behind. Kale felt a wave of empathy wash over him. He understood that feeling all too well. I know what that's like, he said, recalling his own troubled past. I lost my family too, and it took me a long time to come to terms with it. Lyra looked at him, her eyes searching his for understanding. How did you deal with it? I focused on my purpose, Kale explained. I learned to fight and protect others, but I also realized I needed to connect with people again, like I'm trying to do with you. Lyra nodded, but Kale could see that she was still troubled. I want to reconnect with my family, but I don't know how, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I'm afraid they'll be disappointed in the choices I've made. Kale stepped closer, wanting to comfort her. You've done incredible things, Lyra. You fought against a crime lord and stood up for what's right. They would be proud of you. She looked down, biting her lip. I hope so. But it's hard to reach out after being away for so long. Kale thought for a moment. What if we went back together? We could visit your family and show them how strong you've become. You don't have to do this alone? Lyra's eyes widened in surprise. You would do that for me? Of course, Kale replied earnestly. You mean a lot to me, and I want to support you. Plus, it would be good for me too. I've been thinking about my past a lot lately. Maybe visiting your family would help me face my own memories. Lyra smiled, her expression brightening. That sounds amazing, Kale. I'd love to have you there with me. In the days that followed, they made their plans. They gathered supplies and prepared for the journey back to Lyra's hometown. As the day of their departure approached, Kale felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. He wanted to be there for Lyra, but he also feared facing his own past on the rise. Morning of their departure, they set out early, the sun rising behind them as they traveled. The road was long, and Kale took the time to reflect on the journey ahead. He wanted to be a source of strength for Lyra, but he knew he had to confront his own fears. As they traveled, Lyra shared stories about her family. She spoke of her parents, her younger brother, and the happy times they had spent together. Kale listened intently, feeling a sense of warmth grow in his heart. He admired Lyra's strength and resilience. She had overcome so much, and now she was ready to face her past. After a long day of travel, they finally arrived at Lyra's hometown. It was a small, quiet place filled with familiar sights and sounds. As they walked through the streets, Lyra pointed out places she used to visit, her eyes sparkling with memories. But Kale could also see the apprehension in her expression. Are you ready? He asked gently, sensing her nerves. Lyra took a deep breath, her hands trembling. I think so. I just hope they'll accept me. Kale reached for her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. No matter what happens, I'm here for you. We'll face this together. With renewed courage, Lyra led the way to her family's home. As they approached the door, Kale's heart raced. He could feel the weight of his own past pressing down on him, but he pushed through it. This was about Lyra, and he wanted to support her. Lyra knocked on the door, her heart pounding. Moments later, it swung open, revealing a woman with familiar features and a look of surprise on her face. "Lyra? Is that really you?" "Mom!" Lyra exclaimed, rushing into her mother's arms. Cale watched from the doorway, feeling a mix of emotions. He was happy for Lyra, yet he couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider. "Where have you been?" Lyra's mother asked, tears in her eyes. "We've missed you so much." "I've missed you too," Lyra replied, her voice choked with emotion. "I'm sorry for leaving. I wanted to come back sooner, but I was afraid." Cale watched as Lyra's mother held her tightly, and he felt a sense of relief wash over him. The love between them was palpable. Lyra's family welcomed her back with open arms, and Cale felt a warmth in his heart. Maybe this was what it meant to reconnect, to find understanding and acceptance. After the initial reunion, Lyra introduced Cale to her family. "This is Cale," she said, her voice filled with pride. "He's been my partner in everything. He fought alongside me against the crime lord." Lyra's mother looked at Cale with curiosity. "Thank you for taking care of my daughter. She's always been strong, but I can see how much you mean to her." Cale felt a blush creeping up his cheeks. "I just want to help her. She's the brave one." As the evening went on, they shared stories and laughter around the dinner table. Cale felt a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced in a long time. Lyra's family embraced him as one of their own, and he felt the distance he had felt earlier begin to fade. Later that night, as they settled in for bed, Lyra turned to Cale, her eyes shining. "Thank you for coming with me. This means so much to me." Cale smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart. "I'm glad I could be here for you. You deserve this happiness." As they drifted off to sleep, Cale realized that this journey had brought them closer together. They had faced their fears and found hope in each other. Lyra's strength inspired him to confront his own past, and he felt ready to embrace whatever came next. In the quiet of the night, he whispered, "You really are beautiful, Lyra." And for the first time in a long while, he felt truly hopeful about the future they could build together. The warmth of Lyra's family home filled Cale with a sense of comfort he hadn't felt in years. After their emotional reunion, he spent the next few days getting to know Lyra's family better. They shared meals, laughter, and stories, and Cale felt himself opening up more than he had thought possible. But even in the midst of this joy, he couldn't shake the feeling of distance that lingered between him and Lyra. As they explored her hometown, Cale noticed that Lyra was often lost in thought. She would smile and laugh, but sometimes he caught a flicker of sadness in her eyes. It worried him. He wanted to ask her what was wrong, but he didn't want to ruin the happy moments they were sharing. One evening, after a day of visiting old friends and reminiscing about her childhood, Lyra sat on the porch, staring at the stars. Cale joined her, sensing that she needed a moment of quiet. The two sat in comfortable silence for a while, the sounds of the night wrapping around them. "Lyra," Cale finally said, breaking the silence, "I can tell something is still bothering you. What's on your mind?" She sighed, her gaze still fixed on the sky. "I love being back here, but it's hard to reconcile who I was with who I am now. I've changed so much since I left." Cale nodded, understanding her struggle. "You fought battles that most people can't even imagine. You're stronger than you realize." Lyra turned to him, her eyes glistening. "But I'm also afraid. What if my family can't accept the person I've become? I've seen so much, and I've done things I'm not proud of." Cale leaned closer, wanting her to feel his support. "You've done incredible things, Lyra. You've fought against a crime lord to protect others. You've shown bravery that many people don't have. Your family will see that." Lyra smiled faintly, but looked away, still troubled. What if they don't? What if they only see the girl who left? Cale took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her worries. Change is hard, but it's also part of growing. You're still the same person at heart. You just have more experiences now." Lyra finally turned to him, her expression softening. "Thank you for saying that, Cale. I guess I just need to find the courage to share my story with them." "You're not alone," he assured her. "I'll be right here with you. We can face this together." The next day, Lyra decided it was time to introduce Cale to her extended family. They would be gathering for a family dinner, and she wanted him to be a part of it. Cale felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He was honored to be included, but worried about how her family would react to his presence. As they arrived at Lyra's aunt's house, the warm smell of food filled the air. Lyra's family welcomed them with open arms, and Cale tried